Silence can feel like the loudest answer you'll ever get. Someone you cared about stops reaching out. Messages are left unread, and suddenly the connection you thought was solid seems to vanish. Most people panic in this space. They double text, they overthink, they try to force contact, believing that if they just explain, just prove, or just remind the other person of what they had, they'll come back. But here's the truth. The more you chase in silence, the further they drift away. Stoicism flips this fear upside down. Instead of viewing silence as rejection, the Stoic sees it as a test, an opportunity to master patience, self-control, and presence. You don't make someone come back by filling the silence with noise. You make them come back by letting the silence work for you. The Stoics understood that people are drawn to strength, not need. And strength isn't loud. It isn't desperate. It's quiet, calm, and unshakable. When you respond to silence with dignity instead of panic, you communicate something far more powerful than words ever could, that your peace doesn't depend on them. This is where mindful stoicism comes in. Mindfulness allows you to observe the silence without judgment, without spinning stories in your head, without letting insecurity drive you into action that only pushes them further. You stay present. You live your life. You keep your energy moving forward, and ironically, that presence is what makes people notice your absence. Imagine it from their side. They expect you to chase. They expect you to try to win them back. But when you don't, when you remain centered, when you keep growing, when you let them feel the weight of their own distance, they begin to realize something. Silence hasn't weakened you. It has revealed you. And that revelation makes them curious. It makes them question. It makes them remember. The point is not manipulation. The point is transformation. By using silence as a tool for growth instead of a wound to react to, you shift the dynamic. They may have walked away, but you stand so firmly in your own presence that the only path left open for them is to return and meet you at your level. Most people see silence as a punishment. They believe the other person is taking something away from them: attention, care, love. But the Stoic mind reframes silence as a mirror. It shows you where you stand with yourself. If their absence leaves you feeling empty, that emptiness was already inside. They just made you notice it. And that realization is powerful because it points you toward the real work, filling that space with your own strength, your own clarity, your own discipline. This is where most people lose the chance to turn silence into connection. They rush to fill the gap. They beg for answers. They break their own boundaries. They trade dignity for the illusion of closeness. But when you do this, you send a signal. You show that their presence defines your worth. And once you show that, the mystery, the respect, the attraction, it all begins to vanish. Mindful stoicism teaches the opposite. Instead of running from silence, you sit with it, you use it, you transform it into a forge where you become sharper, calmer, and stronger. You wake up early, you train your body, you strengthen your focus, you refine your purpose. You don't use silence to dwell, you use it to evolve. And while others might think you've been left behind, the truth is, you've already moved ahead. And here's the paradox. When they finally look back, they don't see the version of you they left. They see someone renewed, someone stronger, someone they can't ignore. The silence they thought would distance you becomes the very thing that draws them back, because it forced you to stand taller. Think of it like this. Silence is not empty. It's full of energy. It's full of your actions, your growth, your choices in the time apart. If you fill it with desperation, they feel that. If you fill it with peace, they feel that too. And nothing is more magnetic than peace, because peace is rare. This is why so often people return the moment you've truly detached. Not because of a trick, not because of a game, but because you've reached a state where you don't need them. And that state is irresistible. There's a natural law in human relationships. What you chase runs, and what you embody attracts. Silence magnifies this truth. If you run after someone who has stepped away, they keep moving, because your energy tells them you are beneath, not equal. But if you stand still, if you remain composed, if you embody strength instead of need, eventually they turn around. Why? Because strength creates gravity and gravity pulls. Stoics remind us that true control is not over others, but over ourselves. You cannot dictate whether they text back, whether they miss you, whether they realize your worth, but you can control whether you break down or rise up in the silence. And that choice decides everything. People often imagine that what makes someone return is the perfect message, the right apology, or some dramatic gesture. But in reality, it's far simpler. It's the feeling they get when they notice your absence. Do they feel relief, or do they feel respect? Mindful Stoicism ensures it's the latter, because instead of fighting to get them back, you focus on aligning yourself with your highest standard. And when you live at that standard, something happens. They recall the times when your calm steadied them, when your presence brought balance, when your energy gave them peace. Those memories rise louder in silence than your words ever could. Here's the part many overlook. When they return, it's not because you convinced them. It's because they realized you never left yourself. You didn't lose your path when they stepped off of it. You didn't crumble just because they withdrew their attention. You remained whole. And that wholeness is what makes them want to be part of your life again. It's the difference between need and choice. If you chase them, you're saying, but I need you. But when you stand still, grounded, patient, you say, I choose you, but I don't need you. That shift changes the entire dynamic. Need suffocates, choice inspires, and choice, freely given, is what makes someone come back not just once but for good. The truth is, you never really control whether someone returns. What you do control is the person they'll find if they do. And this is where silence becomes your greatest ally. You can either let it break you or let it build you. You can either fill it with noise and desperation or with discipline and growth. That choice decides the story. Stoicism and mindfulness teach us that real power is quiet. It doesn't scream, it doesn't beg, it doesn't chase. It waits, it observes, it strengthens itself in the stillness. And when the silence finally ends, as it often does, what they see is not a man who crumbled without them, but one who stood taller than before. That contrast is unforgettable. So if you want them to come back, don't chase, don't force, don't panic. Instead, honor the silence. Use it to sharpen yourself, to rediscover your own center, to align with the kind of person you're proud to be. Because when you do, one of two things will happen, and both are victories. Either they return, drawn back by the gravity of your peace, or they don't. And you've already become someone far too strong to need them. In the end, the secret to making them come back isn't about them at all. It's about you. It's about your ability to transform silence into strength, distance into clarity, and absence into growth. And that kind of transformation doesn't just make them want to return. It makes you unstoppable with or without them.